This is the PR Podcast, a show about how public relations helps you tell your story to the world. We talk with great PR practitioners who have the skills, creativity, and just plain savvy to get their clients noticed. Now here's your host, Jody Fisher.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the PR Podcast. I'm Jody Fisher. Thanks for joining us. Well, make sure you send in your PR Podcast plug. I joke around that as PR people, we're great at promoting our clients and horrible at promoting ourselves. But for me, it's the truth. So we want to make this really easy for you to promote yourself and give us something that we can love on you for. Now, it's not your 9 to 5. It's something cool that you've done. Maybe you wrote a book. Maybe you have a cool blog. Maybe you have a podcast. Maybe you got a great TikTok channel. Maybe you won an award. Let us know that cool new thing that you did or have done or are doing, and give us a way to promote it for you. Send it to us. You can email it to me, Jody at jodyfisherpr.com, or you can hit me up on any of the socials, either at Jody Fisher or at the PR Podcast. Send us a note, give us your PR Podcast plug, and we will mention you at the top of an upcoming show. Now on with our show today, and a terrific returning guest. Tonya McKenzie is a California-based public relations and media relations professional helping organizations craft their message, tell their story, and gain earned media. She's the founder and owner of Sand and Shores. She's at the forefront of PR, community issues, and topics that are close to her heart and her community. She's an international speaker, an author, and advocate for women and youth, a dynamo on social media who always has something interesting to say. She's active in her community service, serving as Los Angeles County Commissioner of Alcohol and Other Drugs. And when she's not busy with all of that, you will find her on the baseball field with her kids. I absolutely adore her, and I'm so excited to have her back with some exciting news. Tonya, welcome to the PR Podcast.
Awesome,
cheer
Jody.
track.
Like, I want to cheer for you. You are so good at this. Thank you for having me. I love being on any platform with you, sir. I love it.
Well, thank you for being here. All right, now let's go right up front with some news that you have for us. Maybe it's a little bit in the rearview mirror, but you've got a book out, right? Tell us about that.
I do. It's called On Air, On Point, Media Training for Podcasters. And that came about, I've been doing over the last year, maybe year and a half now, training for podcasters. So like Black Podcast Association, Afros and Audios, the Black Podcasters Convention. I do their trainings because I don't think podcasters recognize how much media training they need, what they're missing, and how they can improve and elevate their platform. So I took all those trainings and I threw it in a book for anybody that wants to improve their media savviness or just grow their platform. I think it's important.
Are there a couple things that podcasters, and maybe specific to your book, Black Podcasters, need to do with their shows to either differentiate themselves or excel in what they're trying to do? Can you give us a little spice from the book?
Yeah, so I think what's important, whether you are a Black podcast, any podcaster, and this book is for any podcaster, it is important to know who you are, to be able to talk about your show and who you are as a podcaster. That is your brand. You need to really carve out your personal brand. We definitely get into that. And why your show, who might talk about or focus on a certain subject that has various podcasts out there that focus on that subject, why yours is different. Is it the format? Is it the takeaways? Is it the guests? Do you not have guests? Every podcast, because every podcaster is different. Every podcast ain't for everybody. So you need to be able to let people know who your podcast is for, how you cultivate community around that podcast, and how you grow it authentically with the people that it's meant for. And I think that's hard. The hardest part about that is people that are not in this industry really get afraid of niching down because they think that they're going to lose or not get those listeners or those customers and clients, right? Having the conversation where you explain to people your core audience is what is going to help your show grow. But again, podcasting isn't much different than the businesses that us as PR professionals deal with. And that's the other thing is podcasts are a business these days. So how are you running your business? It is with an element of public relations. So you need to understand that. You need to understand the branding, the storytelling, and how you connect with your target audience and be able to identify your target audience. So that's what we do.
That sounds great. Are there ways that people can identify that target audience? Should they just be doing their thing and hopefully their audience finds them? Or are there proactive ways that people can go about connecting with that specific niche or that specific audience that they're trying to serve?
There's proactive ways. And let me finish answering your question. I kind of missed the part about the Black podcasters that I do train. You see, again, when we talk about target audiences, people get really afraid to identify those, right? So there are podcasters in every nationality, every niche group, they have their group of people that they are speaking specifically to. It's okay to say that. I think people get really afraid to say that. So helping people understand that the boldness in their brand that helps them identify who they are also helps them identify who their target audience is. So if you are having a podcast that is based on Black girl therapy, you are going to be talking about things that are systemic in Black culture that other people identify with, but the majority of the people that you are talking to come from a traditionally Black background. They probably go to Black churches. That, the culture in which you are talking to them through, the scope, the dictionary, the lingo, all of those things matter because then they know this is for me. I said something on a TikTok the other day and I was like, yeah, something about your pocketbook. And one of the comments was, oh, she's talking about pocketbooks. I know she's Black. Because it's something that we talked about in my great grandmother used to say that. She put her pocketbook in her bra and go to church. Like it was a common phrase. So there are times when you will be attracted to things that you are comfortable with, that you are familiar with, that resonate with you. So having the ability, the boldness to brand yourself in a way that you are saying, this is who I am, this is who I'm talking to. You're free to come in and have this conversation too, if it resonates with you or if it makes you laugh. But this is who I'm talking to because this is who I'm trying to heal. This is who I'm trying to connect with. This is who I need to hear my message. Because also, we want to make sure that we're giving off solutions, right? Podcasts are supposed to be solutions based, or we're having conversations that have takeaways. Who are those takeaways for? If you're giving me takeaways for something that doesn't apply to me or doesn't impact me, then I'm wasting my time. So a really big part of anything I do, for the most part, will have a large portion of branding to it because it is saying it's okay to be specific about who you're talking to about this thing. Sports podcasts, that is important. You're probably going to have, I won't say a little locker room talk, but there's going to be sports lingo in there. If you are a woman that don't watch sports, it don't matter how good the guys look that's on the podcast. If that message that they're giving off does not resonate with you, you are wasting your time. So just being bold enough to say, this is who I am. This is what we are talking about here on this platform. This is who I'm talking to. That is a big part of your podcast and yeah, your business also. But we also have the media training pieces in there too. So you see most podcasts, I won't say most, but they pop up all over the place. And a lot of these people don't have a lot of media savvy. So even someone like a Shannon Sharp, who has been on TV for a very long time as a sports broadcaster, I'm sorry, decided to jump into podcasting, but people would criticize him about his podcasting skills because of his lack of, I would say, media training. How are you having these important conversations to make sure that people are getting the appropriate takeaways from conversations with a Cat Williams or Amanda Seales or other figures that people find are important? Like, how do you follow up? How do you make sure that you are probing right? How are you verifying information? All of that is part of media training also, and we have to talk about it.
Yeah, it's a great point to make about being specific. with your message, because it's the same PR trap that we sometimes that clients will fall into, the "we need to be everywhere" trap, right? No, you don't need to be everywhere. You need to be where your audience is. You need to be where your customer base is, and you need to speak to them in the language and the way that they understand to be an effective communicator. You kind of, everyone, we want to be in the New York Times. Yeah, I hate to put it this way, but people kind of fall into the New York Times. Yeah, you can pitch stories to the New York Times, sure, but the Metro section is going to cover you, for different reasons. Let's put it that way. Then maybe your local paper will cover you, or your local news channel will cover you. Being as specific as possible to cater to the people who you want to engage with is super important.
Yeah, I think people lose sight of that because public relations in itself, I think, is understood. People don't understand it like they should. They have this perception of it. It's romanticized as some insta fame opportunity. And being someone that helps others get media exposure, I can tell you, there is no instant fame that happens even when you get media coverage.
And it runs away real fast.
Yeah, it's fleeting. Right? So you definitely need to know what to do with it. What are you supposed to be doing with this in order to maximize it? So understanding public relations has to be a process where you bring in the branding. I always bring in branding first. Like, who are you? Who are you talking to? Okay, well, Cosmopolitan probably ain't for you. You want to be in Sports Illustrated. You do not need to be in Cosmo, or you need to be in the local paper. If you are a local business or even a regional business, why are you trying to reach people over here? Like, that's not for you. So, but even having those types of conversations can be difficult. People don't want to hear that. They just want to hear they want to hear what they already think it is. And I don't know. I think I just like being a little controversial and doing a little back and forth with folks. So letting it out.
It starts to become like that is ego-driven PR, right? And like the people who need the ego-driven PR are usually the celebrities and the people who end up on page 6, and you don't want to be on page 6 anyway.
I was talking to a publisher the other day. I was trying to help this client find the right publisher for her book, and she said something to me, and it hit me that this is also a PR thing. So she said, "I only do vanity projects," and I was like, "Okay, for books? What does that mean?" I think that there are publicists out there that only work on vanity. Actually, I know that there are publicists out there that only work on vanity projects. They really only do it for ego. They only do it for ego. I didn't know that there were publishers out there that only publish books like to help people with their ego. Like, I was just thrown. I was like, really? You waste your time with, okay, never mind. Because I've just assumed if you have a good story or you've accomplished something amazing, there is a higher level of vanity that happens, right? You get your praise and your accolades and the notoriety from the good work that you do and the impact that you make on lives. But I guess we're just wired different. So learning that there are people that really just go out of their way for the vanity of it was like, sounds very PR-ish.
Yeah, the name and lights effect. Yeah, absolutely. But this also starts to bump up against something else that I know you're passionate about, which is sort of how PR reflects real life, or how it is effective in real life, and how communication, and I'll use the word explanation maybe, is so important in the relationships that we have in life. It's not just, PR is not just, and I'm going to do my version of it, and you straighten me out. PR is not just the name in the paper. It's not just the story on the nightly news. It's not just the media relations or the blog post or the social media. It's actual interaction with our communities. And I know you are very deeply entrenched in your community. Tell me how you take those PR skills and translate them into effective community communications.
I'll even go a little further and fold in my position as LA County Commissioner, right? So we are at the pinnacle in Los Angeles County. We are at the pinnacle of drug addiction right now. And we're not the only ones. So this is a national problem, that drug and alcohol addiction, so substance abuse, is at an all-time high, right? So we know that's serious. It's a serious deal. Kids are the most impacted by this, which drives me nuts, and it makes me very sad. I think a lot of people are passionate about that, but they don't show up at meetings. They don't call in. People do not do anything until they're outraged. So I use my PR skills and understanding how the connection happens and how you connect things with people to get it to resonate, to trigger a reaction. Our job is to trigger a reaction from our audiences, right? So as a county commissioner, my audience is my county residents. I want them to get active in talking about solutions for our young people having addiction problems. I don't want them to get reactive after laws are passed that they then don't like. Because I hear it in the background, like there are people that don't like the recidivism issue, way that we deal with things. Some people complain about the harm reduction programs because they feel like we're making the problem worse. Okay, so let me do something or put something out that triggers a reaction, because we're going to be voting on something soon. And I would much rather have them engaged in it and get their input before we actually vote on it than have their outrage after it happens. So I might do something, or I've done this before, is I might tell a story about something that has happened. And I say, hey, these are the two options. Which one do you think is most important, right? That is something that I would say I use my PR skills for most, because I think it's important. I think my message to you as a resident is important. So I'm going to use my skills to get a reaction from you so that we can get more community engagement, to make sure that everyone gets the message, because when people are upset, then they want to talk. To make sure that everybody disseminates the message so that we can then work on solutions together. But
that's got to be really hard to do, though, to get people to sit up and take notice when they're not inclined necessarily to take notice, right? Because people are like, it's fine, whatever. And like you said, they only get engaged when they're pissed off.
Right. So then I'll say something that'll piss them off. Like,
do you have for instance, have you done this recently? What have you done? One?
Yeah. Can you hear me? I put out a post about doing spending money. Like, it was like a $5.2 billion bill that we were going to pass. And then it was a picture of like some kids doing something, and they were like, you're going to give those people money? No, our taxpayer dollars and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I'm going to outrage you, so then you can come back and say, I don't like that. What can we do to fix it? Oh, okay. We have a meeting coming up. You can call here on this number, blah, blah, blah. Go over here to Holly Mitchell's website, and it gives me the opportunity to get information out to people. So I will do things. I know this is so terrible. I'm such a bad kid. That will outrage people so that they can then start paying attention. I shouldn't have to do that, but then you also train your audience. So this is important. When it comes to PR and your target audience, you train your audience. They start to then want to come to you for information. You don't always have to. I always say you do the hard work at the beginning. You do the hard work at the beginning. You do a lot of outreach. When you first start with a client, you're doing a lot of outreach, you're doing all this stuff. And then after a while, people will start coming to you. Be like, hey, is your client available for an interview? Oh, hey, I need an expert opinion on A, B, and C. Hey, do you think your client might be ready for a 5-minute spot on what they talk about? When we use our skills to be able to improve the quality of life for others, I think that shows our worth. That really shows our worth to people, and they start to recognize, she just trained me. Now she has trained me on how I get information that's important to me. That is what PR professionals do. We train people to come to us for quality content. for facts, for, the good stuff, not the salacious BS that they can find anywhere. We train people to know where they can come to for quality information, quality content, and the stuff that they need to really impact their lives.
That becomes a true relationship. And it requires, I think, continued effort on our part as the providers of that information to be reliable, to be trustworthy. And that's where we start to run up against, the pop culture rep that we have as PR people, right? As we're on Scandal, or we're on Succession, or we're on, Sex in the City, or whatever. We do not go out and hobnob. We do not go out and hang out with celebrities. We sit, in my case, in the PR garage, and we write and call and pitch, and it's very not glamorous. And half the time I'm sitting around in my PJs.
It is so not glamorous. Like, well, we have parties, we just party. No, actually we don't. We research, we write, we call, we follow up, we check, we fact check, we check again to make sure that when information goes out, you get quality content. That is why it is important to have, even if you feel like you don't need PR, it is important to have good communicators in your life, good communications professionals, good PR professionals in your life. We're essential. That's it. Mic drop. We're essential.
That's it. Mic drop. We're making the hats and the t-shirts. Absolutely. It's true though. I mean, communication is the key to doing anything else effectively, I think. I mean, whether you're running, a business, whether you're leading a community, whether you're running a nonprofit, people don't engage with you, and people don't, to your point, people don't act, right? It's this call to action concept. People don't act unless they have information that motivates them, either positively or negatively, right? And going back to your point about, sort of saying something potentially outrageous to motivate people to an action so you can actually get them to engage. What platforms do you find are really effective communication platforms today? What do you like to use? We talked about podcasts. Obviously, we talked about PR. Are there specific things you niche down on that you like to use?
Instagram, because everyone loves a good picture or video. That's probably my first love now. It used to be Facebook before it got wonky. I still keep up with a lot of family and friends that are far away on Facebook, so that one's great for like disseminating information for family. But business wise, Instagram is great. It's accessible to everyone, right? So the ease of access for everyone needs to happen. And you can tell a picture, or at least get attention with pictures and video. It's important. Quality pictures and video are important in every aspect of storytelling. Then I've gotten hoodwinked and bamboozled to get on TikTok. So there's that, because it's fun.
You're real good, but you're really good at it. Your content is some of the most reliable content that comes across my feed, because, and I'm going to give you my impression of you, and we're friends, right? But I'm going to give you my impression of you through your content. You are active in your community. You're an active mom, and you are really engaged with the businesses that you run. How right or wrong am I?
Oh, 100% right.
Right. So that's
100%.
that. So that tells me that your content that's coming across is authentic and true. And that's what people should be shooting for, right?
Yeah, and I try not to make it salacious either. So you'll see a lot of that on TikTok, a lot of personalities, like people trying to develop these personalities, and everyone wants to be their own news broadcaster, and that's fine. But
they're trying to monetize their content, basically.
Yeah, they're trying to monetize, and which is fine. You can do that. I think I finally reached over 10,000 followers, so now I monetize, but I don't do it for that. I literally do it to communicate information, or vent about something, or get a reaction, to hear how other people think. I like listening to how other people think and how they process information. So my husband, he was talking the other day and he was like, I just don't get into certain types of interviews because they don't do anything for me. He likes history. And I was like, I like listening to how people process information, because for communicators, it helps us understand how to communicate different messages to people. So if I didn't listen to various different types of speakers and personalities and other podcasts and other interviews, I wouldn't have a vast understanding of being able to communicate difficult issues to others. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone doesn't, we don't have the same background. We are all a culmination of our experiences. So especially if I have not experienced what you have, I can say something and you take it a whole different way. Being able to watch and see how other people process information gives me the opportunity to see how something would land. How is the message I'm trying to give? How would that land for those people? How would that message land for younger people? Hearing how they talk and how they process information, even though it might even be something that's not interesting to me, allows for me to decide how I'm going to maybe pitch something out or pitch a collaboration or just share that information with someone else. I think we stay in our echo chamber so much that we forget that everyone does not see the world the way we see it. So TikTok and Instagram would probably be my favorite too. Twitter's still out there. I'm trying to kind of threads Twitter, because I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird time right now in the limited text world.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. But with all this that you're doing, are you using, here comes, AI in creative ways, in interesting ways? Are you using it at all to kind of streamline your workflow or to get things off your plate? Or are you seeing your clients wanting to use AI in any way? I mean, I've used it. I'll throw myself out there first while you think. I've used it in the most basic way a PR person can use it, which is writing first drafts of stuff, right? So if I take a whole lot of notes, I'll just cut and paste it into Chat GPT and I'll say, write me a blog piece on this, or write me a press release about this. And it'll organize my thoughts. Great, I got a first draft, and now I can go run with that instead of taking 30 minutes to write my first draft and then another 30 to write my second.
I use it to save a lot of time and to be as accurate as possible. So I want my writing to be sleek. I'm very wordy, so using AI helps me trim some of the fat on conversations I'm trying to have. And it also helps me to make sure I don't miss anything. So let's say, for instance, I want to talk about what you need to know to make sure you are registered to vote, right? In 2024. I will actually run that through, let's say, a Chat GPT, or there's so many tools out there and I have access to all of them. And the funny thing is, just to let you know, every one of them gives a different answer. Okay. So first of all, let's be clear. All of them give a different answer. So I might run it through a couple of those to ask the question and see what it comes up with. I make sure that I'm not missing any points, because I get a lot of different answers, and I make sure that I consolidate and I'm not missing anything. Because if I'm going to be someone that gives information, I want to make sure it's accurate and it's thorough, right? I also, like I said, am wordy, so I might use it to reword something. I have a few people that I run messages by to see if what I said is what they heard, if what I'm putting out is what they're receiving. I think we miss that a lot in communication. That's how people wind up getting in this misinformation situation. I did say that. Actually, you didn't. That's not what you said. You left something out. We can talk about the kicker from the Chiefs and the message that he was giving off. Like, is that what he was trying to say, or did he say some of the things that he was trying, some of the messages that he was trying to put out? I actually think he did what he said, what he wanted to say, but I digress. So I'll use Chat GPT to help me with my messaging. to make sure that I'm hitting my points, I'm being as sleek as I can with my wording, and that what I'm trying to say is actually what they hear.
It's a great way to look at it. And I didn't consider the idea of using multiple AI sources to cross-check itself, right? And to give you different perspectives. And now that you've said that, I'm going to go back and I'm going to sort of line them all up and do a taste test side by side, because that's an interesting experiment. I like that.
Here's the thing.
You know,
Here's the thing about ChatGPT, I want, or any of this AI that people need to understand. All it is information that we as humans have already put out, collected. So there is a level of human intelligence that got put into this thing. We can't forget that. So it's also going
human
to be
intelligence
perfect,
or lack thereof.
or lack thereof. So it's going to, there might be some errors. There may be some misinformation out there. So we are still charged with double checking our sources and our resources. It's not a copy and paste situation. We do actually still have to do work, right? I think it's great for something like Canva. If you use Canva or the design piece, some of us are just not very creatively inclined. There are apps now where you can put in exactly what you're imagining and it will spit out a couple of images and you can choose from that or then make variations. But it's a tool that you can use to help you be better at whatever it is that you do. They have one now that spits out, I think it's Beautiful or something, and it spits out presentations. So if you're trying to put together PowerPoint presentations and maybe even media kits, these are all things that people need that take a lot of time and sometimes money that you now have an opportunity to use and save you time and save you money. And if you ain't got no creativity, it steps in and does it for you.
Good stuff. Let's round out our conversation here for the show with this thought. You know, going back to communicating with your community and even giving them information that is motivating, let's say, you know, to get them to engage. Without getting overly political, I know what side of the fence you and I both are on, but we do have an election coming up, a presidential election coming up. What are you seeing in your community are the issues that people are concerned about? And how do you think that effective PR is going to help people get informed and motivate them to get out to vote?
There's a couple things. First and foremost is as much time and energy, conversation, and arguing as people do about the presidential election, your local election is the most important. Okay? That is the one that directly impacts your life, whether it's your sewage, your electricity, your childcare, education, how utilities are run, the roads that you drive on. Those things are important. The education board has elections, your mayor, your city council people, your assembly people. When people are like, oh, I don't like this law, it ain't right. When is the last time you've talked to your assembly member? That is actually his job. So understanding local politics is important. And the best part about local politics, it's not really a right or left thing. It's not a blue or red thing. It literally is about the local issue. There are so many times when we see blue and red agree on something that is important to the local community. Okay. So that's first and foremost. But the other piece is do your own homework, do your research. Stop waiting for someone to give you the answer, because the answer for them might not be the answer for you. Where does communications fall in line here? It's really up to these politicians, these leadership individuals in your community to communicate to you what they have done. Now, of course, their job is to be honest. And we all know people don't always give you the information, all of the information, if some of it will make them look bad. So I implore each and every one of you, do not wait until an election happens to find out that the guy you voted for has a felony. Like, you need to find that out at the beginning, because they're not going to tell you that. They're just not. It would be great if they did, but they don't. But for you as a resident to understand that information is out there, and if you ever need any help looking, call me, email me, text me. I will help you. I am an advocate for local politics. I think it's very important. And then for the the national election, there's still so much that if you don't understand, ask someone that you have something comfortable and familiar with, because judges get appointed, women's rights, we have so many different things that are on the ballot. You need a thorough understanding before you make a decision. And we, as residents, should be talking to our neighbors, because y'all might want the same things. It's okay to have these conversations. You can disagree without being disagreeable. And I think that it is important that we get back to that. You should know your neighbors, have conversations with them, see who the people are around you, and be okay having different views. I think it's important. I think it's important.
I think that is a great place to end up our conversation. You and I both know we could go all day long, but we're going to wind it up there and say thank you so much for joining us here today, Tonya. Really appreciate it. We're going to segue now into the rapid fire question portion of our podcast, where I know you love it, right? Where we ask our guests a series of rapid fire questions meant to elicit a simple answer, maybe your laugh or two. Tonya McKenzie from California. We need some California flavor in here now. Come on. Rapid fire question number 1. What is your favorite news source?
ABC. I would say I'm a ABC News. I love George Stephanopoulos. Anytime he's talking, I'm listening. Anytime. He's been consistent for years, eons.
Rapid fire question number 2. What is your favorite social media platform?
Instagram. I love pictures. I love sharing pictures. I love seeing y'all's pictures and videos, and I love to laugh. Instagram.
Yes, yes. Rapid fire question number 3. Coffee or alcohol or anything else?
How about coffee with alcohol?
There you go.
Can I get a little Irish coffee? Like, what are you talking about?
You bet you can. Rapid fire question number 4. What's your favorite on the run food?
Oh, fries. I mean,
where are you getting your fries?
Good fries? God, I like local joints.
Yeah.
I love little local joints. They have the best fries. Like I heard a long time ago, McDonald's fries ain't even really potatoes, so I don't do that anymore.
No. I like my diner fries.
Yeah,
I love my diner
fries are so good.
The best. They're the best. Anything on that grill. All right, and rapid fire question number 5. This is a tough question to ask you, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What do you want to be after you finish this career? You got like 5 or 6 of them right now, but can you narrow it down? Maybe what's in the future for Tonya McKenzie?
I was thinking the other day, after I had my interview with Michelle, I wonder if I could go back to school and get my law degree. Is it too late? Can I finish that?
Of course you can.
And just end my life arguing for a living? Like, that would just bring me so much joy.
Maybe you put those little letters behind your name, right?
I wanted to be an attorney. Michelle, at the podcast matchmaker, she was on my
Michelle
podcast.
Glogovac, a former guest on the podcast as well.
Yes, she's amazing. And she wanted to be an attorney and wound up being the podcast matchmaker. And I wanted to be an attorney and wound up doing all of these crazy things that I do. But I always wonder, like, when is too late?
I think never. I think never.
There we go. So I probably won't give up on that dream until I'm off this earth.
I smell a law firm in our future here. Is it McKenzie and Glogovac or Glogovac and McKenzie? We'll figure that out.
I'm gonna talk to her about that. I think we might be able to pull something off.
I like it. I like it. Well, Tonya, thank you again for joining us. Please let people know how they can find you online.
I'm pretty consistent. Tonya McKenzie PR on all social media platforms. I'd love to connect. And if there's ever an opportunity to help you get something done in politics or in your community, listen, let me know. No problem is too big, and every problem has a solution.
Thank you, Tonya. Always love talking with you. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Please remember to subscribe to the show. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The PR Podcast, and send us a question or a comment. Our intro is by Christopher Apple. You can find him and his fantastic photography on Instagram at Christopher_APPOLDT. Check him out there and hire him for all your photography needs. You can find me online at Jody Fisher on all the socials and on the web at jodyfisherpr.com. We'll see you next time on the PR Podcast.